What is up, YouTube? Welcome back. Aeneas here. Uh, it's Monday again, so we got us another Monday metagame update, and we're gonna take a look at Standard, some recent Standard tournament, as well as a lot of spicy decks that people have been posting, and we'll take a look a little bit at the Decathlon event and some decks people have for that, and a few other things. So yeah, let's get into it. All right, so for Standard, the meta, as you know, if you've watched my other videos, meta is mostly settled. We know the top decks. We know Azorius Soldiers is top deck in best of one, and followed closely by the other aggro decks. And then you've got some of the mid-range decks that are doing pretty well. Grixis, Esper. We see the mono blue is popular, but that's actually not one of the top decks. Yeah, Grixis, Esper, mono black control. New contender to the throne, Orzhov control. People are cutting out the blue. I guess they're finding it's not that useful sometimes, and they're adding in Archangel of Wrath. So that's interesting. Selesnya Enchantment still holds on somehow. Some people still have success with that, but I find that pretty easy to beat, at least with the decks I tend to play. But I think maybe it's good against aggro, and that's why people are playing it. So yeah, if you don't play aggro, but you like kind of fast-paced deck, maybe that's one of your choices. All right, but the rest you know mostly about. So any of those decks will be good enough to get you to Mythic. You just gotta, play some, grind a little bit, play a little bit of time with them, etc. And then best of three, still mostly, what we've seen before. Esper, Grixis, Mardu, and Azorius Soldiers are the ones that are kind of all fighting for the top spot in best of three. I will say, however, there have been a couple new contenders that people are trying out in best of three and best of one. One of which is the this one calls it Is It Tempo. Sometimes it's called like Is It Ramp, Is It Artifacts, stuff like that. So it's a blue-red deck that basically tries to make a bunch of power stones in different ways, and then that ramps you into the like really big portal to Phyrexia, or the other one that is like an 8/8 creature that destroys something and has the unearth effect as well. So you ramp into the big artifact things. You also have a lot of those skitter beam battalions to make a bunch of tokens, go wide, swing in with trample and haste, and just win the game basically out of nowhere. So that's kind of a interesting new deck that's taking over, and yeah, so I'm curious to see if it will move up in the ranks as more people try to play it. But yeah, that's about it for best of three. Like I mentioned, Is It Tempo is the new one coming up, and also there's Grixis, which is always good. We did have one standard tournament. Surprise, right? Because the last couple weeks was Christmas and New Year, and people were not playing tournaments. But we do have one Pizza Box Challenge, and it was actually taken down by a mono white mid-range deck, which this is a deck that's been around since even the last standard, but just got a few new cards with Brothers War. And it's pretty solid. It's got like, the ambitious farmhand to get you value and as a blocker. You've got Spirited Companion, same thing. I think you usually have the wedding announcement, yeah, to get you some more blockers and tokens and draws and stuff like that. So everything you're playing is a 2-for-1, and mostly just there to kind of slow the game down a lot until you get out your really big creatures, your big Angel, the Sanctuary Warden, or the AO or stuff like that. So just lots of super value white cards. And that's how that's able to beat out the aggro decks, because you just slow down the game so much that you can win. So that one took down the tournament 8-0. Grixis, also, like I said, really good in best of three, so that's not surprising. Boros Enchantments taking the third spot, which I believe is actually mostly just kind of similar to that mono white deck, but splashing red for the Fable of the Mirror Breaker, and maybe that's it. That's the only thing I see different. So basically the same mono white mid-range deck, splashing a little bit of red, and it did worse than the mono white deck, so probably not worth the splash. And I think that's the only thing really of note. There's a Jund deck in here, but they didn't do super well. So yeah, you can take a look at that if you want. I'll post that in the description. And let's get into some of the spicy decks people are posting. So first off, Robert Taylor, the veteran Twitter guru. I don't know how I went to Japanese for that. Guru for all things MTGA. And even MTG just posts results and stuff like that on Twitter. So we've got the standard top 8 deck lists from the standard challenge, and number 1 is Grixis, which makes sense. In second place, mono red. So mono red aggros is still doing pretty well, taking down things. That one's a little bit interesting because it has Jaya. Not a lot of people play with Jaya, but still pretty much mono red aggro otherwise. Then we have Mardu taking the number 3 spot, and the last number 4th place is that that is it artifacts, is it tempo, is it ramp, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, it's the is it deck. So it got 4th place in the tournament, which is pretty good. But you can see kind of what it looks like here. Skitterbeam Battalion, Cityscape Leveler. Big old artifacts that do something when they come down, and you ramped there with the Mightstone Weakstone. It also draws you cards. Your Fable and your Reckoner Bank Buster also ramp you, so that's kind of the point. It's like you control, then you get these really big artifacts in there that just win you the game pretty quickly. All right, so that's it for that. So those are the top 4 of that challenge. Other people are having success with this different kinds of decks. Like this one, there's a Golgari best of 1 standard list, which is kind of like the mono black deck, but splashing green for some nice cards like Terra Sunder, which is a really good removal spell, and a little surprising Kyrion Beastcaller, but I suppose it's a way to gain some life, makes your creatures bigger. Yeah, maybe it's worth splashing green for that. So yeah, if you get a little tired of just mono black, check it out. Seems pretty cool, and it's a little bit different, so why not? So they did well with that. Got up to mythic, pretty good ranks. Another deck we got here that did well is the Esper list from this Brandon Burgess, and pretty standard Esper. They've got a few funny cards, like niche cards like Spell Pierce in here, Destroy Evil, Kaito. Obscura Interceptor is one I don't see very often either, so that's interesting. So yeah, Esper list got him to like 46 mythic, so pretty good. Definitely a solid deck that you can try out. What else do we have? This person was having a lot of success with their Jund list in their rank, and so yeah, it's kind of a different shift from Rakdos to Jund. A lot of people are not playing Jund, but there are quite a few really strong Jund cards in the format. Terra Sunder being one, Riveter's Charm, Unleash the Inferno. Unleash the Inferno honestly is like a super powerful card, and I don't know why more people don't play that one, but I guess just because there hasn't been a huge reason to play green otherwise. So yeah, it looks cool. Definitely could see it being very good and surprise some opponents because they're not expecting you to play Jund. So yeah, awesome. So after this, mostly these are just kind of cool decks. The next few decks are just decks that I thought were kind of interesting that people were having fun with, not necessarily competitive. So take it with a grain of salt. If you want to win your dailies, you can play these next few. But if you're trying to rank up, I wouldn't necessarily recommend these. But yeah, let's take a look. All right, so this one did well in the Decathlon event. It doesn't mean it's going to do well in the standard ranked ladder, but it is a pretty cool deck nonetheless. It's a green-red artifact ramp deck. Has this Teething Wormlet, which gets bigger for each artifact that enters the battlefield and gains you some life. Then it also gets Death Touch if you have enough artifacts on the board. Then you have a couple other cards like Sarenth's Steel Seeker and Arbalest Engineers, which also give you some artifacts. And they have some other effects. And then Gala Greeters, same thing. When creatures enter the battlefield, you make artifacts, treasure tokens specifically. So it all synergizes very well to be ramping you, to growing your Teething Wormlet, etc. And then you just have a few artifact cards that you can use as your payoff. Mightstone, Weakstone, Cityscape Leveler. They're running the Dollhouse of Horrors, which is a strong card, but a little bit slow. But if you can ramp into it, then yeah, makes sense. And Phyrexian Dragon Engine, another way to draw, which is something that red, green don't necessarily have. So that's pretty crucial. Yeah, it looks pretty cool. I don't see why it couldn't do well in standard. You probably would need to tweak it, adjust it, get it to, you know, beat certain matchups. But cool deck, did well in the event. Doesn't necessarily mean it's good for ranking up, but yeah, maybe something to try out, have fun with. All right, next one is this Gruul Titan Shift. I played this deck. It was really fun and super powerful when you got the combo off. So if you're a combo person, yeah, this is a cool deck. However, it is probably a little bit too slow in standard, at least in best of one, because in best of one, you know, the aggro is everywhere. So this might be too slow for aggro. Don't know. But anyway, cool deck, fun deck, good for getting your dailies. Basically, you make a bunch of tokens and artifacts and stuff like that, and then you use the chaotic transformation to sack like a creature, an artifact, enchantment, and you get like so much value off of it because you pull them from out of your deck. And the only creature you have in your deck is Titan of Industry. The only artifact you have is Portal to Phyrexia. So therefore, you're gonna pull those two out every single time, and it's just chaos, and it's great. And yeah, it's so fun. I would say, since this was made for the event, the Decathlon event, probably you need to add something like the Voldaren Epicure or something, which is a creature. And no, you can't play that, can you? Well, you would need some way to make an artifact that's not attached to a creature. So I don't know, you'll have to think about that. But Fable of the Mirror Breaker does make artifacts, so that's one thing. Big Square makes artifacts, that's another thing. So you do have ways to get artifacts that you can sack to your chaotic transformation, but yeah, something to think about. All right, another fun deck is this Ninjas prototype deck. This person, you know, used Satoru Umezawa to bring out these really big creatures, Phyrexian Flesh Gorger, Kotose, Dusk Mangler, stuff like that, for much cheaper. So yeah, it's a pretty cool idea. I do think this card hasn't seen the play that it deserves. It's definitely a very solid card, but might not just be the time yet for this, to be honest. Anyway, it's a cool idea. They've got a basic shell here. You could tweak it a little bit, have some fun, maybe change the payoff creatures. I don't know, but anyway, yeah, there's that. All right, and then I think these last two decks that I've got from Twitter are some for the Decathlon Alchemy event. So if you are wanting to win that, here's a couple decks that have got the wins, 7 records. The first one is a mono red deck, very aggressive, lots of removal, lots of prowess and things like that. I didn't use this one because I don't have a lot of these cards, but if you already play Alchemy, you probably have most of these anyway. So yeah, this is one that can get you there. Another one is this Rakdos list, which has mostly the same cards as standard. I tried to play this one. It didn't go well for me. I mean, I went, what did I go, about 4 and 3, so not great, not bad. Yeah, I think it's not bad. If you're really good at this type of deck, you can probably get there. I mean, this person got there, but yeah, anyway, Rakdos deck. And then if you want a deck that I personally recommend, there's the Demir clock control deck that is in Alchemy that worked very well for me, and it didn't require that many crafts of cards in Alchemy, so you don't have to waste wild cards. So yeah, check out that other video that I posted earlier today or actually I guess yesterday on the channel, and see how it goes. It was a really fun deck and very cool to pilot. And if you like control like me, then you're gonna have a blast with that one. So yeah, check that out. All right, that's it for today. I think we went a little bit longer than normal, but that's it for the Monday meta update. Hope you can still have some fun out there on the ladder. We still got about a month left until the next set comes out, so stay strong. Take some breaks if you need to. But I'll still be doing the grind up to Mythic as normal on the channel, and can't wait till spoilers start again for the next set. But yep, that's it for now. Until next time, see ya.